You think 1970s blue-collar families just ate whatever was fastest and cheapest? Think again. Factory workers, union laborers, and working-class households created some of the most filling, ingenious, and community-building meals in American history. Let's dig into 30 lost blue-collar meals from the 1970s that have disappeared. Hot beef sandwiches were the ultimate blue-collar comfort food, served steaming on thick slices of white bread piled high with tender roast beef and smothered in rich brown gravy. Factory workers across the Midwest ordered these at lunch counters, knowing a single plate could fuel them through the afternoon shift. The bread absorbed the gravy until it practically melted in your mouth, while the beef, often from cheaper end cuts, slow roasted until tender, provided the protein working men needed. Mashed potatoes served alongside created a complete meal costing less than $1. Short-order cooks kept gravy boats ready, knowing the lunch rush would bring waves of men in work boots looking for something hot and filling. The beauty was its honesty. No fancy seasonings, just good meat, good bread, and plenty of gravy to hold it together. This diner classic has nearly vanished from lunch counters, replaced by faster foods that lack its soul-warming satisfaction. American goulash bore little resemblance to its Hungarian namesake, but it became a lifeline for working-class families stretching ground beef through the week. This one-pot wonder combined elbow macaroni, ground beef, canned tomatoes, and whatever vegetables needed using up, all simmered together until the flavors melded into something greater than its parts. Mothers across factory towns made enormous batches on Sunday, knowing leftovers would feed families through Wednesday. The dish cost pennies per serving, yet delivered protein, carbohydrates, and vegetables in every bowl. Children came home from school to find it warming on the stove, its tomato-rich aroma filling modest kitchens. The beauty was its flexibility. Some added corn, others stirred in cheese, and many adjusted spices to family preferences. It required no special equipment, just a large pot and basic pantry staples. Today, American goulash has largely disappeared from family tables, replaced by convenience foods that cannot match its economical warmth. Salmon patties transformed canned fish into crispy golden discs that graced Friday dinner tables in Catholic households and blue-collar homes alike. Canned salmon, bones, skin, and all, was mashed with cracker crumbs, egg, and minced onion, then shaped into patties and fried until the exterior turned beautifully crisp while the inside stayed moist. The bones, soft from processing, were simply crushed and mixed in, providing calcium that working families might otherwise lack. Mothers served these with cream gravy poured over the top or alongside boiled potatoes and canned peas. A single can could stretch into 6 patties, making it economical when meat prices climbed. The distinctive smell of salmon frying announced dinner throughout the neighborhood. Children either loved or dreaded Friday salmon nights, but everyone cleaned their plates. This thrifty classic has nearly disappeared from modern kitchens, though those who remember it recall the satisfying crunch fondly. Johnny Marzetti was the casserole that fed church potlucks, union halls, and family reunions across Ohio and the Midwest throughout the 1970s. Named after a Columbus restaurant owner, this hearty combination layered ground beef, tomato sauce, onions, and egg noodles with generous amounts of melted cheese on top. The dish was designed for feeding crowds. A single pan could serve a dozen hungry workers. Women passed recipes between friends, each adding personal touches like mushrooms, peppers, or extra garlic. The noodles absorbed the meaty sauce while baking, creating a texture that was neither soupy nor dry, but perfectly saucy. Factory workers would find covered dishes waiting after long shifts, ready to be reheated. The casserole traveled well, held its heat, and satisfied appetites that sandwiches could not touch. Though it originated decades earlier, the 1970s saw Johnny Marzetti at its peak popularity before slowly fading from community cookbooks. Tamale pie brought southwestern flavors to blue-collar tables without requiring the time or skill that authentic tamales demanded. This casserole layered seasoned ground beef with tomatoes, corn, olives, and spices beneath a golden cornmeal crust that baked up crispy on top while staying soft underneath. Working mothers appreciated that it came together quickly, used inexpensive ingredients, and fed large families from a single dish. The cornmeal topping, made with milk, eggs, and sometimes cheese, puffed slightly in the oven and absorbed the spiced meat juices bubbling below. Children loved the mild heat and the contrast between soft filling and firmer crust. The dish represented practical adaptation of ethnic cuisines into forms that fit American kitchens and budgets. Church cookbooks featured countless variations, some adding beans, others incorporating enchilada sauce. Tamale pie was filling, flavorful, and affordable, yet it has largely vanished from modern family casserole rotations. City chicken contained no chicken at all. It was cubed pork or veal threaded onto wooden skewers to resemble drumsticks, breaded and fried or baked until golden brown. This Depression-era invention persisted through the 1970s in Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and other industrial cities where immigrant families had perfected the recipe generations earlier. The name came from a time when chicken was expensive and pork was cheap, so frugal cooks created an imitation that became beloved in its own right. The cubes were dredged in seasoned flour or cracker crumbs, then browned before finishing in the oven with gravy. The skewers made the dish fun and portable. Children could eat them like drumsticks, while adults appreciated the tender meat. Polish, Slovak, and Italian families each claimed their own variations. City chicken represented the ingenuity of working-class cooks who transformed humble ingredients into something almost celebratory. This dish has nearly vanished outside ethnic enclaves. Swiss steak turned tough, inexpensive cuts of beef into fork-tender meals through patient braising in tomato sauce with onions and peppers. The technique, pounding flour into the meat before browning, tenderized the fibers while the long, slow cooking broke down connective tissue into silky richness. Working-class families bought round steak, pounded it mercilessly, and trusted time to work its magic. The dish simmered for hours, filling homes with an aroma that drew children asking when dinner would be ready. Served over egg noodles, rice, or mashed potatoes, Swiss steak stretched modest cuts into meals that satisfied the hungriest appetites. The tomato gravy, enriched by meat juices and softened vegetables, was often the best part, sopped up with bread until plates gleamed clean. Factory cafeterias and school lunchrooms featured Swiss steak on weekly rotations. This economical classic has largely disappeared, replaced by faster cooking methods that cannot replicate its slow-cooked tenderness. Ham and bean soup represented the ultimate expression of blue-collar thrift, transforming leftover ham bones into thick, nourishing soup that could feed a family for days. After Sunday ham dinners, the bone with its clinging bits of meat went into a large pot with dried navy beans, onions, celery, and water. The soup simmered for hours until the beans broke down into creaminess and the ham fell from the bone in tender shreds. The resulting broth was rich with smoky pork flavor, thick enough that a spoon could almost stand in it. Working families knew that a good ham bone was never wasted. It was the beginning of another meal entirely. Children came home to find the soup warming on the stove, served with thick slices of buttered bread or crackers crumbled directly into their bowls. The soup tasted even better the second day when flavors had melded overnight. This kind of practical cooking has largely disappeared as fewer families buy bone-in hams or take the time for slow simmering. Kielbasa and sauerkraut was the workingman's feast in Polish, German, and Eastern European communities across industrial America. Fat links of smoked kielbasa were nestled into beds of tangy sauerkraut, sometimes with potatoes or apples added, and simmered until the flavors married into something deeply satisfying. The sausage released smoky fat into the kraut while absorbing its briny sharpness, creating a balance of rich and sour that demanded cold beer and dark bread alongside. Steelworkers, miners, and factory hands brought this dish to union hall gatherings where it fed crowds economically. The sauerkraut could be homemade, fermented in crocks, or store-bought. Either way, the result was comfort on a plate. Mothers knew exactly how long to simmer until the kielbasa skin snapped perfectly when bitten. This dish represented immigrant heritage maintained through food, connecting factory workers to old-world traditions. It survives in ethnic enclaves but has largely vanished from mainstream American tables. Cabbage and noodles was peasant food perfected. requiring nothing more than a head of cabbage, egg noodles, butter, and patience to create something remarkably satisfying. The cabbage was sliced thin and slowly sautéed in butter until it caramelized into sweet golden strands that melted on the tongue. Meanwhile, egg noodles boiled until tender, then joined the cabbage in the skillet with salt, pepper, and sometimes caraway seeds. Hungarian, Polish, and German families all claimed this dish as their own, each with variations passed down through generations. The beauty was its simplicity. 3 ingredients transformed by technique into comfort food that cost almost nothing. Children initially suspicious of cabbage often became fans once they tasted it prepared this way. Working mothers could make this quickly after long days, knowing families would eat well despite tight budgets. Cabbage and noodles represented the best of immigrant thrift cooking, proving simple ingredients handled with care create genuine satisfaction. Porcupine meatballs got their playful name from the rice mixed into the meat, which poked out like little quills after cooking in tomato sauce. Working mothers loved this dish because it stretched a pound of ground beef into enough food for a family of 6 while adding extra carbohydrates. The meatballs were simple: ground beef mixed with raw rice, onion, egg, and seasonings, then browned and simmered in canned tomato soup thinned with water. As they cooked, the rice absorbed liquid and expanded, creating those distinctive spiky protrusions. Children found the name amusing and the taste familiar, making this an easy sell at family tables. The tomato sauce became rich and meaty during the simmer, perfect for spooning over mashed potatoes. Factory workers came home to find these waiting in covered skillets, still warm from afternoon cooking. This clever dish has largely disappeared from modern kitchens, though it once represented exactly the resourceful cooking that kept blue-collar families fed. Spanish rice was the economical side dish that appeared alongside nearly everything in blue-collar kitchens throughout the 1970s. Rice was cooked with canned tomatoes, onions, peppers, and whatever seasonings the pantry offered, often just salt, pepper, and chili powder. The tomatoes stained the rice a cheerful orange red while adding moisture and tang that plain rice could never match. Mothers made enormous batches knowing leftovers would be just as good reheated or fried crispy for breakfast. The dish cost almost nothing yet added color, flavor, and substance to meals built around cheap proteins. Some families stirred in ground beef to make it complete, while others kept it simple as a bed for fried eggs or beans. Spanish rice appeared at potlucks, packed lunches, and weeknight suppers with equal frequency. It required no special skills, just patience, while the rice absorbed the tomato liquid. This humble side has faded from regular rotation, replaced by instant versions that lack its homemade character. Shipwreck casserole earned its dramatic name from the jumbled layers of ingredients that looked like debris after baking, though families called it delicious debris. Raw ground beef, sliced potatoes, onions, celery, kidney beans, and rice were layered in a baking dish, covered with tomato soup, then baked until everything melded together. The beauty was that nothing needed pre-cooking. Mothers assembled everything raw and let the oven work over 2 hours. Factory wives could build the casserole before shifts, leave it in a slow oven, and return to a complete meal ready for hungry families. Each layer contributed something essential: potatoes for substance, beans for protein, vegetables for nutrition, tomato for moisture. The dish emerged bubbling and fragrant, the top slightly crispy while the bottom stayed saucy. Children learned to love the soft potatoes and tender beef that fell apart at the touch of a fork. Shipwreck casserole represented the ingenuity of cooks who let time do what busy schedules could not. Scrapple was the Pennsylvania Dutch creation that turned pork scraps and cornmeal into breakfast slices that fried up crispy outside while staying creamy within. After hog butchering, the head, liver, and odd bits were simmered until tender, then chopped and mixed with cornmeal mush seasoned with sage, pepper, and salt. The mixture was poured into loaf pans and chilled until firm enough to slice. Come morning, thick slabs were fried in butter until golden crust formed, creating textural contrast that made Scrapple addictive to those who grew up with it. Steel mill workers in Bethlehem and factory hands across Pennsylvania started days with Scrapple alongside eggs. knowing the combination would fuel demanding shifts. The flavor was earthy, porky, and deeply satisfying, nothing like the bland breakfast meats that would replace it. Scrapple represented the waste-nothing philosophy of working-class communities, where every scrap found purpose. It survives regionally, but has largely vanished from American breakfast tables. Welsh rarebit was the working man's answer to fancy cuisine. A rich cheese sauce poured over toast that could serve as supper when the budget ran thin. Sharp cheddar was melted with butter, mustard, Worcestershire sauce, and a splash of beer until it became a thick, tangy sauce with complex flavors that belied simple ingredients. The sauce was ladled over thick slices of toasted bread, sometimes with a poached egg on top for extra protein. Despite British origins, Welsh rarebit found a home in American factory towns where immigrant workers adapted Old World recipes to New World pantries. The dish could be dressed up with bacon or tomatoes, or kept simple when payday was days away. Children loved the gooey cheese, while adults appreciated how quickly it came together after long shifts. Welsh rarebit appeared in diners and home kitchens alike, offering satisfaction that sandwiches alone could not provide. This humble dish has largely disappeared, though it once proved cheese on toast could become something special. Creamed peas on toast was the definition of making something from almost nothing. A white sauce studded with tender peas, poured over bread to create a meal that cost pennies but satisfied real hunger. Canned peas were stirred into a simple cream sauce made from butter, flour, and milk, then ladled over toast that softened under the warm sauce. The combination provided protein, carbohydrates, and vegetables in a single economical dish that mothers could prepare in 15 minutes. Factory workers ate this for supper when paychecks ran short, while children accepted it as familiar comfort. Some families added hard-boiled eggs for extra protein, others stirred in bits of ham when available. The dish represented practical cooking of households where nothing fancy was expected, just food that filled bellies and stretched budgets. Creamed peas on toast appeared regularly in school cafeterias and church suppers. Today, this humble dish has vanished from most tables, remembered only by those who grew up eating survival food without knowing it. Ham salad sandwiches transformed leftover holiday ham into a spread that could feed families for days after the main event ended. The ham was ground or finely chopped, then mixed with mayonnaise, sweet pickle relish, mustard, and sometimes hard-boiled eggs until it became a cohesive spread. Packed between slices of soft white bread, ham salad sandwiches appeared in lunch pails, picnic baskets, and on supper tables when full meals were not possible. The beauty was its economy. A ham bone with clinging meat could yield enough salad for a week of lunches. Working men carried these to factories and construction sites, eating them at midday breaks alongside thermoses of coffee. Children found ham salad in their school lunches, familiar and filling if not exciting. The spread could also top crackers or fill celery stalks. Ham salad represented the waste-nothing mentality of blue-collar cooking, where every scrap of expensive meat found purpose. This practical spread has faded from most refrigerators. Hobo dinners were the ultimate one-packet meals, wrapping ground beef, potatoes, carrots, and onions in aluminum foil and cooking them over coals or in ovens until everything steamed tender inside. The name evoked travelers cooking over campfires, though suburban families adopted the technique for backyard grills and kitchens alike. Each family member could customize their packet: more onions for dad, extra potatoes for teenagers, milder seasonings for picky children. The packets required no dishes during cooking and minimal cleanup afterward, perfect for busy households. Boy Scout troops cooked hobo dinners over campfires, while families made them for summer suppers when heating the kitchen was unwelcome. The steam trapped inside cooked everything evenly while concentrating flavors into something greater than separate ingredients. Opening a packet released fragrant steam and revealed a complete meal. This practical cooking method has faded from regular use, though it once taught children that dinner could be fun and effortless. Hot dish was what Midwesterners called their beloved casseroles. One-pan meals built from whatever needed using up, bound together with canned soup and topped with something crunchy. The classic combination layered ground beef, vegetables, and egg noodles or tater tots with cream of mushroom soup, providing the sauce. Church basements across Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Dakotas served hot dish at every gathering, each cook bringing their own variation. The dish required no fancy ingredients. Canned vegetables worked as well as fresh. Factory families depended on hot dish because it could be assembled ahead, baked while other tasks got done, and reheated well. The tater tot version became iconic, those crispy nuggets providing textural contrast to the creamy filling below. Hot dish represented Midwestern practicality and the understanding that feeding families mattered more than culinary sophistication. Though it survives in its homeland, hot dish has never achieved the national recognition it deserves as working-class comfort food. Corn fritters turned summer's abundance into golden, crispy pillows that satisfied both as side dishes and simple suppers. Sweet corn kernels were folded into thick batter of flour, eggs, and milk, then dropped by spoonfuls into hot oil where they puffed and browned into irregular shapes that crunched outside while staying tender within. Farm families made these during corn season when fresh ears cost nothing, while city families used canned corn year-round with similar results. The fritters could be dusted with powdered sugar for breakfast, served alongside fried chicken for dinner, or eaten plain while still warm. Children especially loved corn fritters because they were finger food that tasted almost like treats. The recipe required no special equipment beyond a heavy skillet and enough oil for frying. Mothers knew exactly when the oil was ready by how the batter sizzled upon contact. Corn fritters represented simple country cooking adapted for working-class kitchens. They have largely vanished from regular cooking routines. Potted meat sandwiches were the ultimate budget lunch, spreading that mysterious pink paste from tiny cans onto soft white bread when nothing else was available. The meat, a blend of mechanically separated chicken, pork, and beef, cost only cents per can and required no refrigeration until opened. Working men tucked these cans into lunch pails alongside crackers, knowing they could make a filling sandwich anywhere without worrying about spoilage. The flavor was salty, vaguely meaty, and surprisingly satisfying when spread thick with mustard or pickles. Children either loved or hated potted meat, but it kept them fed when groceries ran low before payday. The small cans stacked neatly in pantries, ready for emergencies. Some families dressed it up with chopped onions, while others ate it straight from the can on saltines. Potted meat represented the practical side of blue-collar eating. Not glamorous, but reliable and cheap. It survives on store shelves today, but rarely makes it onto sandwiches anymore. Mulligan stew was the Hobo's legendary contribution to American cooking, a throw-everything-in pot that turned scraps into sustenance. The name came from railroad camps and Depression-era shantytowns where men pooled whatever ingredients they could scrounge into communal pots. By the 1970s, working-class families had adopted the concept, using it to clean out refrigerators before shopping day. The stew had no fixed recipe. It might contain beef, potatoes, carrots, onions, cabbage, and whatever else needed using up. Everything went into one large pot and simmered until flavors melded and tougher ingredients grew tender. The beauty was its adaptability and refusal to waste anything edible. Mothers knew Mulligan stew tasted better the longer it cooked and even better the next day. Factory workers came home to find it bubbling on the stove, ready to be ladled into bowls with crusty bread. This resourceful dish has largely disappeared as modern families throw away what previous generations would have stewed. Corned beef hash was the diner breakfast that fueled factory workers and truck drivers through demanding morning shifts. Canned corned beef was chopped and fried with diced potatoes and onions until the edges crisped and the whole skillet turned golden brown. A fried egg on top, runny yolk mandatory, transformed the hash into a complete meal that could sustain a man until lunch. Short-order cooks across America kept hash browning on flat-top grills, ready to plate at a moment's notice. The dish was equally at home in family kitchens, where mothers made it from leftover boiled dinner or straight from the can when time was short. Children learned to love the salty, crispy bits that formed where the hash met hot iron. The combination of protein, starch, and fat provided lasting energy without costing much. Some families added peppers or topped the hash with ketchup, while purists insisted it needed nothing but the egg. Corned beef hash survives in diners today, but has faded from home cooking. American chow mein bore little resemblance to its Chinese inspiration, but it became a weeknight staple in blue-collar households seeking something different from the usual rotation. Canned chow mein vegetables, bean sprouts, water chestnuts, bamboo shoots were heated with soy sauce and served over crunchy noodles from a separate can. Some families added leftover chicken or pork, while others kept it vegetarian to stretch the budget. The dish felt exotic to children raised on meat and potatoes. Mothers appreciated that it came together in minutes and required no special skills. The contrast between soft vegetables and crispy noodles created textural interest. La Choy and Chun King dominated supermarket shelves, making Chinese-American food accessible to families who would never visit actual Chinese restaurants. American chow mein represented the democratization of ethnic cuisine, adapted for working-class pantries and budgets. It has largely vanished as authentic Asian food became widely available. Ring bologna and potatoes was the working man's one-skillet supper, combining cheap smoked sausage with the most economical vegetable in the pantry. The bologna ring was sliced into coins and fried until the edges browned and fat rendered into the pan. Sliced potatoes joined the sausage, cooking in the rendered fat until golden and slightly crispy. Onions often completed the trinity, adding sweetness that balanced the smoky, salty meat. The dish required no recipe, just a hot skillet and whatever proportions suited the family. Children loved picking out crispy bologna pieces, while adults appreciated how far a single ring could stretch. The smell of frying bologna announced dinner throughout working-class neighborhoods where this combination appeared weekly. Some families added sauerkraut, turning it into a heartier German-influenced meal. Ring bologna and potatoes represented honest cooking without pretension, food that filled bellies without emptying wallets. It has largely disappeared from mainstream tables. Salmon loaf was the dressed-up cousin of salmon patties, turning canned fish into something suitable for Sunday dinner. Canned salmon was mixed with breadcrumbs, eggs, onion, and seasonings, then packed into a loaf pan and baked until firm and golden. The loaf sliced neatly, making it suitable for company when fried patties seemed too casual. Mothers served it with cream sauce, surrounded by vegetables that made the plate look intentional. The dish stretched one can into enough protein for 6, making it economical despite fancier presentation. Children accepted salmon loaf more readily than patties, perhaps because it resembled meatloaf. The baking concentrated fish flavor while breadcrumbs kept everything moist. Salmon loaf appeared at church potlucks where impressions mattered but budgets remained tight. This practical dish has nearly vanished from modern kitchens, replaced by fresh fish. Cheese dreams were the open-faced sandwiches that made children feel like they were getting away with something. Bread topped with cheese and broiled until bubbly and golden. The name captured the simple pleasure of melted cheese, elevated by the broiler's browning. Working mothers assembled these in minutes, popping them under the broiler while attending to other tasks. Some versions added tomato slices beneath the cheese, others included bacon. The cheese, usually American or cheddar, melted into pools that crisped at the edges. Children watched through oven windows as their cheese dreams transformed from pale slices to bubbling golden magic. The dish required no skills beyond basic broiler awareness, making it accessible to teenagers learning to cook. Cheese dreams appeared on school lunch menus and in home kitchens with equal frequency. This simple pleasure has largely faded as grilled cheese took over. Cube steak and gravy turned the cheapest cut of beef into fork-tender comfort through mechanical tenderization and slow cooking. The steaks, run through machines that broke down tough fibers, were dredged in seasoned flour and browned in hot fat before being smothered in gravy and simmered until tender. The pre-tenderized meat cost far less than proper steaks, but delivered similar satisfaction. Mothers served cube steak over mashed potatoes, the gravy tying everything together into comfort. Factory workers came home to find these steaks waiting, their aroma promising satisfaction. The dish required patience more than skill. The longer the simmer, the more tender the result. Children cleaned plates without complaint. Some families added onions or mushrooms to the gravy, while others kept it simple. Cube steak and gravy has largely disappeared from family tables as slow cooking fell out of fashion. Pasties were the handheld meals that sustained miners and factory workers across Michigan's Upper Peninsula and other industrial regions with Cornish heritage. These crimped pastry pockets held seasoned beef, potatoes, rutabaga, and onions. Complete dinner wrapped in portable form. Miners carried them in lunch pails, eating them cold or reheating them on shovels held over candles deep underground. The thick, crimped edge served as a handle, allowing workers with dirty hands to eat without contaminating their food. Families made pasties by the dozen, freezing extras for busy days when cooking from scratch was impossible. The pastry stayed flaky while filling became tender during baking, creating a self-contained meal. Children grew up eating pasties at every occasion. Each family guarded their recipe, arguing over proper vegetable ratios. Pasties survive in regional strongholds but remain unknown to most Americans who missed this immigrant tradition. Poor man's steak transformed ground beef into something resembling real steaks through clever shaping and patient cooking. The meat was mixed with cracker crumbs, egg, and seasonings, then formed into oval patties and refrigerated overnight until firm enough to handle. The next day, patties were floured and browned, then baked in mushroom gravy until tender. The dish gave families steak dinner satisfaction without the expense of actual beef cuts. Children believed they were getting something special, never suspecting humble ingredients beneath the gravy. Mothers served poor man's steak alongside mashed potatoes and vegetables, creating plates that looked like Sunday dinner on a Tuesday budget. The overnight firming was essential. Without it, patties fell apart. Poor man's steak represented the ingenuity of cooks who knew that presentation could elevate humble ingredients into meals worth remembering. Spanish rice with tomatoes and green peppers, a flavorful side dish that has graced American tables for decades. Despite its name, it's actually more of a Mexican-American creation, born out of the fusion of traditional Spanish and Mexican cooking. The rich, savory base comes from simmering rice in a seasoned tomato sauce, with green peppers adding a touch of sweetness and color. The origins of Spanish rice can be traced to the influence of the Spanish in Mexico during the colonial period. The use of rice as a staple ingredient spread throughout Latin America, evolving into countless variations. In the United States, especially during the mid-20th century, Spanish rice became a popular side dish to accompany everything from tacos to fried chicken. The addition of green peppers, onions, and garlic to the dish added layers of flavor that made it even more satisfying. Spanish rice with tomatoes and peppers is the side dish that's just as colorful as it is delicious. So much flavor, it almost steals the show. It's a versatile, easy-to-make dish that always pairs well with a variety of main courses. Corned beef and cabbage bake was a shortcut to tradition. Instead of boiling all day like the old recipes, this version layered sliced corned beef, cabbage, and diced potatoes in a casserole dish, then baked it until the top crisped and the vegetables softened into sweetness. The smell filled the house, tangy, buttery, and deep. Moms liked it because it kept the heart of the meal without the hours of waiting. The corned beef melted into the cabbage, its salt and spice seasoning everything it touched. It was hearty but light, the kind of dish that could stretch one can of meat to feed 6 plates. It was a modern take on an old comfort, one that fit into the rhythm of work, school, and family. Every forkful tasted like heritage and invention mixed together, the kind of dinner that carried the past into the present. The sound of the oven timer brought everyone to the kitchen, where the air was thick with the scent of pepper and cabbage. Slices of bread waited beside the dish, ready to soak up the juices left behind. Even in its simplicity, it carried pride, a meal that honored what came before while embracing what needed to be done now. It was thrift-turned tradition, baked golden and shared warm. Tripe is the edible stomach lining of cows, and it's one of those ingredients that makes you go, "Really?" But in many cultures, tripe was a beloved dish, often cooked in soups and stews. Here's the thing, These poverty foods weren't just about using the cheapest ingredients available. They were about resourcefulness and respecting the entire animal. People found ways to use every part, from the meat to the organs and even the stomach lining, turning what others might discard into nourishing meals. Now, as for tripe, it has a unique texture that's chewy but tender, and it soaks up flavors beautifully. Back in the day, it was a cheap way to add protein to a meal, especially when times were tough. It's the kind of dish that takes some getting used to, both in terms of taste and texture. Today, tripe is more likely to be found in ethnic cuisine than on the average American dinner table. It's one of those foods that hasn't quite stood the test of time, but it still has a loyal following among those who appreciate its unique qualities. Fish sticks, those crispy, golden-breaded delights, have been a fixture of American family dinners since the mid-20th century. While their origins date back to the early 1950s, when commercial frozen food production boomed, fish sticks quickly became a go-to for busy families. Made from white fish, typically cod or pollock, these little rectangular pieces of seafood are battered and deep-fried to perfection, making them as crunchy on the outside as they are tender on the inside. The classic pairing of fish sticks with tartar sauce elevates the meal. Tartar sauce, a tangy combination of mayonnaise, pickles, and lemon juice, adds a creamy contrast to the crispy fish. While the sauce has its roots in French cuisine, it became a beloved accompaniment to fish and chips, and later to fish sticks in the US. On the side, coleslaw, a salad made from finely shredded raw cabbage, carrots, and a tangy dressing, has been a popular addition to fish dishes for generations. Its crisp texture and slightly sweet flavor balance out the richness of the fish and tartar sauce. Cornish game hen, a petite and elegant poultry choice, typically weighs no more than 2 pounds and is ideal for serving as an individual portion, making it perfect for an upscale dinner. These hens are usually roasted whole, seasoned lightly with herbs like thyme and sage, and basted in butter to achieve a crispy golden skin while keeping the meat juicy and tender. The cavity may be stuffed with a flavorful blend of breadcrumbs, chopped vegetables, and herbs, enriching the meat during cooking. The cooking process often involves high-temperature roasting to crisp the skin, followed by a resting period before serving to ensure the meat remains moist. Serving Cornish game hens on a bed of wild rice or alongside roasted vegetables allows their delicate flavors to shine, making them a favored choice for intimate dining and special occasions due to their ideal portion size and visually appealing presentation. Turkey pot pie with biscuit topping was the warmest kind of thrift. Leftover turkey, peas, and carrots swam in creamy gravy beneath a golden crust of drop biscuits. It came from the hands of mothers who knew how to make one meal become 2, maybe 3. The oven turned the house into a bakery, filling it with the scent of butter and broth. When the spoon broke through the crust, steam rose up like memory. Each bite was soft, savory, and full of gratitude. It was food made for togetherness, for laughter between bites, for quiet seconds before bedtime. The flaky biscuits soaked up the gravy like sponges, making every taste better than the last. It was proof that the best meals were born not from plenty, but from purpose. The clatter of plates, the scrape of spoons, the sighs after second helpings, all of it felt like love taking form. Every bite carried effort, every crumb a piece of care. In the quiet after dinner, moms wiped the counter, knowing they had done enough. It was comfort sealed in crust, a reminder that joy could be baked from what was left behind. Pickled pig's feet are exactly what they sound like, pig feet that have been pickled in a vinegar solution with spices. This dish was popular in the South and among certain ethnic groups, offering a tangy, chewy treat that was often eaten as a snack or side dish. The process of pickling preserved the pig's feet, making them a practical choice in times before refrigeration. The vinegar and spices added a punch of flavor that helped mask the natural taste of the feet. Today, pickled pig's feet are more of a novelty than a common food item. They might still be found in some specialty stores, but they're far from a mainstream snack. It's a dish that has mostly fallen out of favor, but for those who enjoy it, it's a taste of nostalgia. Few meals capture the essence of Southern cooking like fried chicken with cornbread and collard greens. Each component has a rich history that has shaped American culinary traditions, and together they create a trifecta of flavor, texture, and nostalgia. Fried chicken, with its golden, crispy crust and tender interior, dates back centuries. European immigrants brought the concept of frying poultry, but it was African-American cooks in the South who perfected the technique, seasoning the chicken and frying it in cast-iron skillets. By the mid-20th century, it was a Sunday staple, served to mark special occasions or simply as a reward for the week's hard work. Cornbread, meanwhile, is a true American original, rooted in Native American cooking. Made with cornmeal, it became a Southern classic for its simplicity and versatility. Whether sweetened with a touch of honey or served savory, it's the ideal partner for soaking up juices from the chicken or a splash of hot sauce. And then there are the collard greens, slow-cooked with a bit of pork or bacon fat for a smoky, hearty flavor. Rich in vitamins, they're proof that comfort food can also be nutritious. Oysters Rockefeller consists of succulent oysters on the half-shell, topped with a rich, buttery mixture of finely chopped herbs and breadcrumbs, then baked or broiled until golden. Originating in 1899 at Antoine's in New Orleans, one of America's historic restaurants, the dish's exact recipe remains a secret but typically includes spinach, celery, and sometimes an anise-flavored liqueur, creating a luxurious topping. The oysters are gently poached in their shells to retain moisture, then crowned with this seasoned blend. After assembling, they are broiled until the topping bubbles and browns slightly, offering a delightful contrast in textures between the creamy, tender oyster and the crisp, flavorful topping. Oysters Rockefeller is not only a treat for the palate, but also a creative celebration of local ingredients, elevating the simple oyster to a decadent culinary experience. Sausage and cabbage skillet was the one-pan wonder that turned thrift into art. A single link of sausage, sliced thin, met a pile of cabbage that wilted down into tenderness, flavored by onions and a touch of pepper. The smell was sharp, smoky, and comforting all at once. It cooked fast but tasted slow, the kind of dish that tasted better than it had any right to. Moms liked it because it stretched what little meat they had into a meal that could fill everyone's plate. The cabbage soaked up all the flavor, and the sausage gave it heart. It was the definition of economy. No waste, no rush, just a skillet and a bit of love. Steam filled the kitchen windows, and the air felt alive. This dish proved that patience and seasoning could make miracles from scraps. Every bite carried pride, and every pan told a story of strength. Beef bourguignon is a cornerstone from Burgundy, involving marinated and slow-cooked beef chunks, typically tougher cuts like chuck, bathed in red wine, usually Burgundy, to tenderize the meat over several hours. This hearty stew is fortified with onions, garlic, and carrots, and enhanced with sautéed mushrooms and crisp lardons. Historically, this method likely evolved as a means to tenderize and enrich less desirable cuts of meat. The stew develops a rich, deep umami flavor from the Maillard reaction, which occurs as the beef browns, and the complex flavors intensify as the wine slowly melds with the herbs and vegetables. The slow cooking process not only enriches the stew's flavor, but also fills the kitchen with an inviting aromatic warmth, making beef bourguignon synonymous with comforting, rich French culinary tradition. Roast chicken with stuffing and green beans is a meal that evokes family gatherings, holidays, and a sense of home. This classic dinner has long been a centerpiece of American dining, combining practicality with elegance. Roasting chicken is one of the oldest cooking methods, but by the 20th century, it became a weekly tradition for many households. Chickens were relatively inexpensive, easy to prepare, and, if seasoned and roasted just right, deliciously satisfying. The key to a perfect roast chicken lies in the balance: crispy golden skin on the outside and juicy, flavorful meat inside. Stuffing or dressing, depending on your regional preference, traces back to ancient Rome. By the time it reached American kitchens, cooks used bread cubes, herbs, and sometimes vegetables to create the savory, aromatic side we know today. While traditionally cooked inside the bird, many began baking it separately for a crispier texture, what some might call progress. Green beans complete this trio, often sautéed with garlic, almonds, or a touch of bacon. They brought a fresh, vibrant contrast to the richness of the chicken and stuffing. If you roast a chicken and make stuffing, you're not just making dinner, you're making memories. And for anyone who's ever had the leftovers, the memories taste just as good the next day. Aspic glazed meatloaf is an example of mid-20th century American cuisine that combines traditional meatloaf with a gelatinous aspic topping. This dish reflects a period when aspic, a savory jelly made from clarified meat broths and gelatin, was popular in the culinary world for its ability to preserve and enhance the presentation of dishes. The meatloaf itself is typically prepared with ground meat, often a mix of beef, pork, and veal, seasoned with onions, garlic, breadcrumbs, and eggs to bind the mixture. After baking, the meatloaf is cooled and then glazed with a clear aspic made from beef or chicken stock that has been reduced and mixed with gelatin until set. This glaze not only adds a glossy, appetizing finish, but also introduces a subtle, savory flavor that complements the rich meatloaf. The aspic also helps to keep the meatloaf moist and flavorful by sealing in the juices. Bean bread is a unique type of bread made by mixing cooked beans into the dough. This dish was a creative way to stretch ingredients and make a filling, nutritious meal. The beans added protein and fiber, making the bread more substantial than your average loaf. Bean bread has a dense, hearty texture and a slightly nutty flavor from the beans. It's a bit of an acquired taste, but it was a practical solution during times when flour was scarce or expensive. In today's world of artisan breads and gluten-free options, bean bread hasn't exactly made a comeback. It's one of those foods that feels like a relic from another time, but it's still an interesting part of culinary history. If you're feeling adventurous, it might be worth trying your hand at baking a loaf just for the experience. Beef and barley soup was a working woman's patience in a pot. It started early, with tough cuts of beef browned slow, onions and carrots sizzling until they softened, and barley sprinkled in to thicken everything with heartiness. The smell drifted through the house all afternoon, a sign that something was waiting at the end of the day. It was the kind of meal that didn't need tending, just trust. The kind that simmered quietly while laundry dried and homework got done. By dinner, the broth was deep and rich, the barley plump, the beef tender enough to fall apart with a spoon. It was nutrition dressed as nostalgia, proof that time could turn cheap cuts into something almost luxurious. Moms made it not for praise, but for peace, to warm everyone from the inside out. It was the kind of soup that could cure almost anything a long day brought. The pot itself seemed to hum with warmth, each bubble carrying the smell of comfort. Bread might have been stale, but dipped in that broth, it tasted new again. Every bowl came with seconds, and every refill came with thanks. This was love slow-cooked, ladled gently, and served with pride, the quiet kind that asked for nothing back. A true testament to how simple ingredients can create something extraordinary, corn pudding casserole with a sweet custard base is a comforting classic. With its rich, custardy texture and subtle sweetness, it's a comforting side that's just as at home at Thanksgiving as it is at a Sunday family dinner. Corn pudding has roots in early American cooking, influenced by Native American corn-based dishes like succotash. However, the casserole version, often made with a combination of cornmeal, eggs, milk, and sugar, emerged in the 19th century as settlers began adapting recipes to make use of what was readily available. The sweet custard base, made with eggs and cream or milk, gives the dish its signature smooth, slightly sweet texture that contrasts perfectly with the corn kernels. It's also a dish that evolved with convenience in mind. As canned creamed corn became widely available in the mid-20th century, many home cooks began using it to simplify preparation without sacrificing flavor. Corn pudding is a crowd pleaser, and its versatility allows for adjustments. Some might add a touch of cheese, while others prefer to keep it pure. Speaking of strange meals, wait till you hear about hog maw. Now, this is a dish that's sure to impress your dinner guests. It's basically a pig's stomach stuffed with, well, who knows? Probably whatever was lying around. When you think of luxurious foods, a pig's stomach is probably the last thing that comes to mind. But back when wallets were tight, people had to make do with whatever they could find. It was found in American, soul food, Chinese, Mexican, Portuguese, Italian, and Vietnamese dishes. Hog maw was especially popular in Pennsylvania Dutch country, where nothing went to waste. Now, hog maw might sound a little fear factor-ish, but it was actually a way to stretch ingredients and make a filling meal for the whole family. It's like the ultimate meatloaf, if meatloaf came with an organ-based casing. These days, the idea of eating a pig's stomach might turn some people off, but back in the day, it was just another way to enjoy a meal. Chicken spaghetti was the kind of meal that made everyone pause and smile when the oven door opened. It was creamy, cheesy, and colorful, made with shredded chicken, chopped bell peppers, and a can or two of condensed soup that stretched flavor farther than anyone expected. The spaghetti went in soft, tangled in sauce until it turned into a rich casserole that could feed a crowd with ease. The cheese bubbled on top, golden and stringy, the sort that clung to every forkful. It was the definition of a working mother's magic, quick, practical, and somehow perfect every time. Kids loved it because it was warm and familiar. Adults loved it because it made leftovers worth looking forward to. It was not fancy food, but it was family food, built to comfort after long days and long weeks. It said, "You are home now." Every bite was a reminder that love could be creamy and baked, tucked into the shape of a casserole. The recipe lived in every small-town kitchen, written on note cards smudged with sauce and fingerprints. It could feed 6 or 10 or more, depending on what needed stretching. Some added mushrooms, others a handful of peas, and every family claimed their way was best. But no matter the version, the smell of bubbling cheese and pepper always meant one thing. The day was done and dinner was taken care of. Potted huff is a dish made from the meat of the shin of a cow or pig, cooked and pressed into a pot with its own jelly-like juices. It's similar to head cheese but focuses on a specific part of the animal. This dish was often seasoned and served cold, sliced up with bread or pickles. Back in the day, potted hoof was a way to make use of tougher cuts of meat that needed slow cooking to become tender. It was a popular dish among working-class families in the UK and the US, providing a hearty, protein-rich meal. Nowadays, potted hoof has largely disappeared from the culinary scene, replaced by more refined meat products. It's a dish that hasn't stood the test of time, but it still offers a glimpse into the resourceful cooking of past generations. Steamed clams, a beloved dish especially along the coasts of New England, have been enjoyed for generations. This dish is a true celebration of seafood, as fresh clams are steamed until tender, absorbing all the flavors of the broth, often seasoned with garlic, herbs, and a splash of white wine or broth. Clams, which are bivalve mollusks, have been a staple in coastal cuisine for centuries, with Native Americans harvesting them long before European settlers arrived. The joy of eating steamed clams comes from their delicate texture and briny sweetness. The perfect clam should pop open easily when steamed, a sign that it's cooked just right. Paired with a slice of hearty brown bread and a dollop of butter, this dish becomes a complete, satisfying meal. The richness of the butter and the rustic flavor of the brown bread perfectly complement the clam's natural saltiness, creating a balanced, indulgent experience. Steamed clams with brown bread, because sometimes the best meals are the ones that come with their own dipping sauce. The dish reflects the simplicity of coastal living, proving that the freshest ingredients often make the most memorable meals. Whether served as an appetizer or a main course, steamed clams with brown bread and butter remain a timeless favorite, offering a taste of the sea with every bite. Peach chicken became popular in the 1970s, aligning with an American trend of integrating fruit into savory dishes. This recipe combines the natural sweetness of peaches with the savory depth of chicken, creating a delightful contrast. Browned chicken pieces are simmered with fresh or canned peaches, with ginger and cinnamon adding a layer of spice that complements the sweetness. Additional peach preserves or syrup can be added to enrich the sauce, deepening the dish's flavor profile. A splash of bourbon or brandy is sometimes included, lending a smoky nuance. The sauce is typically thickened with a cornstarch slurry, producing a glossy finish that adheres beautifully to the chicken. This dish illustrates the versatility of chicken as a canvas for flavor, adeptly marrying the sweet with the savory in a uniquely American culinary experiment. Hamburger gravy over toast was born from tight weeks and nearly empty fridges. Ground beef, flour, and milk. That was all it needed to become something rich enough to stretch across a family. The beef browned, the flour went in, and the milk thickened into a smooth, creamy sauce that poured over toasted bread like comfort made visible. It was cheap, yes, but it never felt poor. The smell of it hit every corner of the house, a mix of butter and warmth that made everything feel fine for a while. Some added onions, others a splash of Worcestershire sauce, but it never asked for more than it had. Dinner was ready in minutes, and the plates came back clean every time. Moms liked that part most, the quiet proof that she had done enough. This was food that held a family together, even when the cupboards were thin. With a name that evokes a French bistro and a flavor that feels like home-cooked comfort, chicken fricassee bridges the gap between elegance and nostalgia. This classic combines tender chicken with a creamy, flavorful sauce and an assortment of vegetables. The roots of chicken fricassee lie in French cuisine, with the term fricassee appearing as early as the 15th century. What sets it apart is the technique. Chicken pieces are first browned lightly, then simmered slowly in a sauce that often blends broth, cream, and a touch of white wine. Julia Child famously described it as halfway between a sauté and a stew, and if Julia said it, it must be true. Vegetables like carrots, celery, mushrooms, and pearl onions elevate the dish, adding texture and natural sweetness to complement the savory chicken. In many American households, this meal became a way to transform humble ingredients into something elegant. While its name might sound intimidating, chicken fricassee is surprisingly practical. It's one pot, easy to make, and the leftovers taste even better the next day, if they survive that long. Fricassee is the dish that makes you feel like you've been to Paris, even if your passport expired decades ago. Okay, if you have a light stomach, this next one's not for you. Chicken feet. You heard that right? Now, we're getting into some real survival food territory. Chicken feet might sound like a strange choice for a meal, but in many cultures, they're considered a delicacy. These little feet are often used to make rich, flavorful broths and soups. The high collagen content gives the broth a silky texture that's perfect for sipping on a cold day. However, chicken feet aren't exactly the most popular menu item in the West, or at least anymore. They were big back when people had to eat whatever they could find, like the tough days of the Great Depression. But in today's modern world, chicken feet are a big no thank you. They're a bit bony and can be a challenge to eat, which might be why they haven't caught on like, say, chicken wings. But for those in the know, they're a tasty, nutrient-rich part of the chicken that's worth trying at least once. Just don't expect to see them in your local fast food chain anytime soon. Ground beef hash was the sound of a skillet crackling at sunset. Potatoes, onions, and beef came together without a recipe, guided only by instinct and experience. Everything sizzled together until the potatoes browned and the onions turned sweet. A sprinkle of salt and pepper was all it needed, though some mothers tossed in a dash of ketchup or Worcestershire for depth. It was hearty, filling, and honest, the kind of dinner that didn't talk, just did its job. Every bite had texture, soft in the middle, crisp at the edges, and rich with flavor from the browned bits stuck to the pan. It was food meant to be eaten hot, straight from the skillet, with maybe a fried egg on top if you were lucky. Nothing about it was wasted. Nothing about it was delicate. It was survival turned delicious, the sound of care disguised as simplicity. Hamburger hash is the unsung hero of the frugal kitchen. Born out of necessity and ingenuity, this dish has been rescuing leftovers and stretching budgets for decades. The concept is simple: ground beef, diced potatoes, and onions cooked together in a skillet. But its simplicity is exactly what makes it timeless. The origins of hash can be traced to the 17th century, when the term came from the French word hacher, meaning to chop. In America, it evolved into a practical way to repurpose leftover meats. By the 20th century, hamburger hash became a staple in many households, particularly during tough economic times, when every ingredient had to count. Potatoes were the perfect partner, cheap, filling, and versatile. Onions, meanwhile, brought a touch of sweetness to balance the savory beef. Some cooks added a sprinkle of paprika or a dash of Worcestershire sauce for an extra punch of flavor. While it may not have the glamour of a Sunday roast, hamburger hash had one major advantage. It came together fast, a blessing on busy weeknights. Hamburger hash proves that even leftovers can shine, especially if you fry them just right. It's a humble dish with a big heart, reminding us that great meals don't need complicated recipes. Which lost blue-collar meal brings back memories of your family's table? Drop your favorites in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe so we can keep serving up forgotten comfort food together.